And we are going. What's going on with everybody? It's your boy, Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I got my boy on the other line, man. I'll let him introduce himself, man. Who we got here today?
What's good? It's Wiki from New York. I'm at my crib chilling. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How you doing today, man?
I'm cooling, man. I'm just chilling. I was running around doing errands earlier, but now I just got back to the crib. Got my phone plugged in so it doesn't die.
For sure. Hey, I appreciate that. Last time, this was like January. I checked January of last year. I don't know if you remember. We did an interview last
I
year.
do.
January last year. A lot has changed since January last year, man.
OD. I feel like we gotta retouch base, fool, because it was like, oh yeah, this is the plan, and I was just like everything changed. So
everything.
the plan.
Everything changed. I mean, literally, you had kind of damn near long, luscious flowing hair. Now you got the military buzz cut almost going on
I
right
like that
now,
the
man.
military.
How long you been rocking that?
I've been doing this for the summer, just keeping it crispy, you know.
Looks nice. It looks nice, man. It looks nice, man. It looks
Good
nice,
look.
man. Definitely. I don't know how it is in New York, but Florida. I'm not gonna lie, man. COVID still got me a little hesitant, man. It's very crazy out here. Definitely nobody. I remember one time I went out recently with the mask on, and everybody was like, "Bro, take that damn mask off." I was like, "All
They're like
right."
real aggressive with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you.
out here it's crazy. Out here it's like you gotta be vaccinated to go to a bar and shit, like to go to events. So it's like a bunch of the people I know that aren't are starting to. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, like I said, that was January 2020. Now we 2021 September. What has changed in your life since January of last year to now?
January, that was like when I was like about to tour or something or on tour. Yeah, I mean like to be honest, at that point, I feel like when we were talking, I was kind of like, yeah, this is this new chapter, da da da. But I feel like at that time, I was like, that's what I wanted, but I wasn't. I was ready for this new chapter, but I didn't really know where to go, and like I needed. I mean, like obviously, like it was a hard time for everybody. I went through a tough year too. I went through like a big breakup and everything, but same time, and like just being in, not being able to play shows, it kind of. But at the same time, it gave me time to like reflect and figure out what I really want to do and like why I do this in the first place and what's really important. So now I feel, and I kind of like got my, I kind of am like managing myself now. I'm working with a friend of mine as a partner, but it's like I'm getting everything together and I'm like really focused right now. So it's been like I feel like where we left off, that was like the thoughts, but now I'm actually about to execute everything that I had in mind, you know, but not really even had in mind at the time. I didn't really know what it was I wanted to do, but now I have a more clear idea of that, you know.
It's really interesting because I guess kind of to rewind from that like quarantine, not to compare anything to jail because jail is a unique experience, but I think people treated it like jail because it's either two ways you come out of jail. People go to jail and they just turn up some more. It kind of leads them down a darker path they was before they went in. But some people take jail to kind of sit down and reflect because if they would have never went to jail, probably would end up in an even worse situation. So it sounds like you kind of took the latter part of that and kind of
Yeah,
sat down to think.
I think I'm lucky the age I'm at. I'm like 27, so it's like, I just think because I feel like every time like sucks. Like to be like, I was like, damn, it sucks to be like 21 in this time. It sucks. But I was like, 27 is like that kind of later 20s is actually like because it's like, it's not 30s where you're like starting your whole, you know, it's really this like,
Yeah.
it's the 30s now, maybe starting families, all that. It's not, but it's not like your early 20s where you want to just get lit. So it's like, a lot of my friends had that time where I feel like the younger kids, not necessarily in a bad way, but they were like, I don't know how it would affect me, but if I was 21 and I was locked down in my like parents' crib, where I was a senior in high school, and I would be like, something would be, and maybe it would be productive, it would be me going crazy, but something would be different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh.
so I feel blessed that I was in a time where I could like, it was almost like I needed that. I never had time to like sit back and just not, because it's always the next tour. it was always the next tour. So then you never really have time to. You have these like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna work on my. You know, you want to work on your personal stuff, and that helps the whole process together. You don't realize like you got to be healthy and mentally healthy and all that too. Like you can't just be out here getting fucked up for every day. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff goes into it too. Like that shit doesn't last, especially with your mind. And we're doing like I'm a writer at the end of the day.
It's crazy because you're talking to somebody that's that age right now, so kind of going through this at a young age.
You're 20, what, 21 or something?
22. I was 21 when it started though, so
Exactly. That's like a crazy time, right?
so
I
it's
mean,
what.
you have like a lot going. You have like something going on, and you're doing your thing. So it's like something to focus on. But if you know, like a lot of people, I'm like the same way. I knew what the fuck I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have eye on the prize. A lot of people your age and even my age still are like they don't know. They're just out here living life. You know what I mean? And it's like for that.
It's crazy because like when,
my bad.
no, you're straight. I was about to say like when we were like in middle school, we look at being 21 as like a grown, like you're an old man at that point. When you get to 21, you're like the people that was when I was 18, they still doing the same stuff when now we're 21. So it's still a young age.
It's crazy when you think about that, right?
It's
When you're a kid, right?
It's crazy. And I feel like something interesting. I think I said this last time, but man, I think that if I would have, I said this last time. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought you was 40. Not because you look old, just because you're like the way you think, the things you say in your songs. Like literally, you're talking about 27 as if you're like 50-year-old man. Like you're living in the
I don't
future.
mean it like that. I just mean like, well, I've just been doing it for a while, and that's also what I mean. It's like being in it, being in the. I feel blessed that I was like. I used to be like, damn, those were my prime years, and it could have been like. Now it's like that's done, but now it's more like I'm so happy that those weren't to me. I'm like it's all forward from now, so it's like that was just growth. That was like school or something to me. Like all those years of like being touring and being in a game, even if it was at like an underground. And I want to be on my. I don't care. You can label it whatever it is, but I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. I love living in the underground, but I'm saying just in terms of like the little amount of success I had, I'm just happy that I was able to like maintain that to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because now I feel like just really eager for like the future. You know?
You strike me as one of those people like this is a random personal quote, but I remember Joe Budden had a bar. He said, "I'm so not afraid to die. It's like I've done it before." It was basically about like reincarnation, like he lived life 1,000 times before. You strike me as a person, huh?
I like that. That's that.
And you strike me as a person that's like you've done this before, and that's why I say like you strike me as an older person. Even some of your bars, I forget it was on the last album, the bar about you being the neighborhood drunk, like shit like that. That's something that I feel like an older person would experience. Even the things you say, some of the books I've heard you talk about, those are things that I feel like older people would sit down and like talk about or demonstrate. And yeah, have you been like that all your life, or is that something that you had to come across earlier or later in your life? Excuse me.
I think yeah. I mean, I think I have a weird duality where it's like part of me is an old soul. I definitely feel like an old soul for sure. Definitely when I was like even when I was young, I always liked the classic stuff, the old stuff, but also yeah, I've always been kind of like that. I don't know, like in school, I wasn't always the best with the numbers or the dates and everything, but I could always like flex when it came to the intellectual side or like the conceptual side, especially like with history and all that stuff. So I was always just interested in that, and like I even like I feel like it's important to stay, just whether it's film or being out in the world or reading or whatever it is, just to stay like uh, taking things in and like taking influence in. You know what I mean? So, and that to me, just being observant, you know. And I'm really into also like psychology and shit these days. Like I'd be like, I never like am mad at anyone. I might be mad at someone, but I'm never like mad because I'm like, all right, it's probably because of it. I like to just analyze like, all right, well, they're probably. I know that. I know this. I know like what their back. I know what they. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I know things that are making them act like this. So it's like whether it's right or wrong, I'm not gonna like take it personally. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, shout out to you for being into psychology, man. That's it.
I'm saying that like now thinking about it, I'm not saying I never get mad at
Yeah.
anyone or anything like that, but I'm still able to realize like, yo, people are different. You know what I mean? Everyone has different circumstances, situations, things that make them tick, and like, you know, people act whatever.
Like
It's
bef-
just important to be able to step outside your own shoes, I think, and realize, all right. Because, you know, sometimes you're like, I don't get that. I would never do that. But it's like, not everyone is like you. And not every, you know what I'm saying? Maybe
that's
not everyone's as solid as you. Maybe not everyone, maybe people are more solid than you. Whatever it is, it's just like, you know,
no,
like,
I definitely feel you. I mean, that's one of the things that you have to sit down and uh, step back before you react. You know, I look at a lot of Russell Brand. He has a YouTube channel where he talks about a lot of like just like meditating and just trying to be at peace with one. And I feel like once you get to that point where you're at peace with yourself, that's when, because when you're at peace with yourself, then you can start to understand the rest of the world. Because if you don't understand yourself, you're gonna have a very hard time trying to figure out everything
true.
else.
That's so true. You need to be like, I felt in the past, it's like even having confidence in yourself. You know what I mean? Even being like happy with who you are as a person. It's like so important to being able to not act to like acting right or just acting like, you know what I mean. Once you're there, you there's not all those like insecurity. Most of the shit is insecurities. I feel like that people are projecting and shit. So it's like if you're confident in yourself and you're comfortable with yourself, then you're gonna be a better person. I think to other people.
And that's a fact. That's why I think a lot of
If
people.
you're popping, you could think someone's so cocky, but it's like they're still insecure about something. They're acting extra, you know.
It's all about just sitting back and thinking. Like me studying psychology, that's all that's all that you really learn. Like when you have to do these, even the assignments. I feel like in psych, like because being having a major in psychology, even the assignments.
It's like, see, I never did that, but I'm like almost like I need to go back to school and do this shit because I'm so interested.
Well, no, it's interesting because I feel like even the assignments they make you think. Like versus if I'm a mathematician major, I'm just doing numbers, 1, 2, 3, x, whatever.
Yeah,
But like the assignments for my psychology, it's like, so if you're in this situation, what would you do? Do you think that's right? What if
you
this?
have to think it out. You can't just be like, all right, let's plug in the thing and then boom, boom, boom.
Exactly. You can't Google it. You have to
Yeah,
really
it's
think.
like this is a specific situation. All right, let's say I'm a you know, it's like, all right, well, this person's mother was like this thing, and there's this thing with his friend going. It's like all the different things going. You know what I mean? It's like figuring it out. I don't know. It's interesting.
Hey man,
But I'm telling you, you gotta. Oh my bad. Go on.
no, I was about to say you should buy some psychology books. I feel like you would really get interested in that.
Facts. I was gonna say you got the new album's coming out soon with Navy. It's sick. I want to send you the private link so you can hear it.
Hey, we're going to get to that because Navy. That's my. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm gonna get to that because I got a lot to talk about, and I ain't even heard the whole album yet, but I already got a lot of questions and a lot of stuff to talk about. But yeah, before we get into that, I still wanna. There's so much stuff because I was rewatching. I never rewatched my old interviews, but I was rewatching this one, and it was just so much stuff. I'm like, yo, this feels like 10 years ago. You know what? You know a movie we were hyped about, and it feels like this movie came out 3 years ago, but it came out like last year.
The what? I know which one. It was like, wait, which one?
1917. We were talking about
Yeah.
1917. That came out recently. You don't even feel like it no more.
That's crazy because that just came out 3 years ago.
It's crazy. So just looking at that, and I realized I meant to ask you a question while we were talking about that because you were talking about you being interested in history, and I was curious what I guess like. Do you have a favorite topic or maybe a favorite era that really like sparks your interest when you hear something about it?
For me, I mean, like, I'm always interested. I like I kind of like ancient. I mean, I know that goes like that's such a long spanning thing, but it's like I like that because it gets down to the like raw human element. You know what I mean? I like that raw human. Then to my psychology again, it's like that. You know what I mean? How that connects, and then also like I don't know. I'm into that whole the like I guess like the pre-Christian and like monotheistic religions, kind of like being the main religions in the world. Like I feel like it was like this thing with the paganism where it's like no matter where you went, there was this version of it, and it was like based in nature, kind of like I'm mad into that recently, like that idea of like it's just them understanding nature. To me, it was like they were scientists or something figuring it out because it's all connected to it. It'd be like we're gonna pray for the sun because it's a flooding, or we're gonna pray for the rain because it's a drought. You know what I mean? So it's like way more connected to nature. I'm interested in that OD recently, but just like really anything. And also I'm into like alternative, not alternative, but like the stuff that you're not always taught in school because I feel like it's such a like Western Eurocentric perspective that we get, and that goes for modern history and ancient history because it's like whether we're talking about it's like ancient Rome, but it's like I'm into like Hannibal. I want to know about Carthage. You feel me? Like what's going on over there? Like that was a whole empire. You get what I'm saying? They touch on that, but it's like I want to get more in depth in that, or like little things like that you heard about. I remember like throughout history classes, those little things that you're like, damn, well, why don't we get to learn more about that? You know what I mean? I want to tap more into that, and I feel like, yeah. So I think, and I think it's important. That's like really important to like not just look, to realize that the shit that you're taught isn't just fact, straight up. You need to like analyze it for yourself. And it's like, you know what I mean? You got, for me, I'm interested in like with the way like the U.S. kind of would like take over, like when like certain revolutions throughout the world would happen, the U.S. would pop in and then like put their little puppet in place because they were scared of like socialism happening. When really it's like a lot of these places, the reason the revolution happened in the first place was because it was like some type of fucked up economic hierarchy. So it's like, bro, let it naturally, organically create what it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. I just, I could go on forever, but it's like, I'm just exactly seeing it from the other angle, basically. And no matter what it is, because there's always another angle, bro. Like we were taught one thing, and it's like, even I remember being in Russia. That's why I like to travel too. I remember being in Russia and being like talking to them, and they were telling us how like, yo, all the movies they saw, the villains were Americans. And you know how like when we were like all the movies in the '80s and all that, all the villains were Russians and Eastern Europeans, and we're just like hear that accent, we think of, oh, it's like this, like, the stereotypes already happened in our brain based off like the movies we've seen, and it's like the same for them. But it's like, what's really the difference? You know what I mean? And then you could be like, oh, well, they did this, and this, but it's like I could list you all the crazy shit America did too. So what's up? You know what I'm saying? It's like, who's the one outweighing the other one? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I was thinking about that. I'd be like, when we're in a like war in the Middle East, like we look, oh, Middle East the bad guy. But I'm like, in the Middle East, they're probably like, Americans are the
Bro,
super evil guy.
Think about how much worse we look, bro. They're like, bro, we out here in the field, like them motherfuckers don't even know, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they're probably more hot. You feel me? Because like it's like not like there's war right here in America happening.
That is a fact. I had this. I think we think similar because when I was in
bearing the brunt of the like effects in turn. I mean, obviously the soldiers, the people, the men and women that are fighting, obviously for. But I'm saying in terms of civilians, like, and that effect, that's like a whole nother type of effect in war. That's like,
yeah, ISIS isn't in Kansas, fucking having war with the U.S. military or whatever. They're in the Middle East.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But no, I was gonna say I think we think similar in like thinking like why aren't I taught this? Why don't I learn this? Because when I was in 11th grade, I had this teacher named Mr. Evans, crazy white dude. He used to like list his favorite dictators. He was just a wild guy, but he was a really really good teacher.
I know them type. Wait, he was like a history teacher.
History teacher. He was an American history teacher.
But he was passionate.
Very. So I remember going to him and I was like, I found this story about like in the 1800s. It was a dude named King Leopold, I think his name was, of Belgium, and he went to Congo and he would cut off like the Congolese hands. He killed like over like 10 million, a crazy number.
Why don't we hear? That's a crazy genocide. Why don't we ever hear about that? Why don't we ever learn? That should be taught right next, just as much as the Holocaust. You feel me?
I said this because I think we were learning about the Holocaust, and I was like, those numbers I think exceed the Holocaust. I was like, why don't we talk about this?
It exceeds, and then it's like crazy brutal, but it's like And that's what I mean. It's like a Eurocentric thing where it's like it happened in Europe, and it's like Jewish people, but it's like white Jewish people that are then immigrants, and you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like it's all connected into this like not that it's not like, bro, I'm from New York, and there's like, and I'm from the Upper West Side too, so it's like I have so many Jewish friends, and I talk, but it's like that's not to say that everything like exactly. Let's see the other angle. What happened with Belgium? Like, bro, Belgium committed a crazy. No one's ever, and even that. Then it's like, oh, the Germans, the Germans. It's like, what about the Belgium, the Belgium? You know what I'm saying? Like, they did just as fucked up shit. Not work. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I feel you. That's like a huge one. I was just talking to my friend about that actually recently.
Hey,
Because I've always heard about it, but I haven't done my own personal digging into as much as I would have liked over the years. You know what I mean?
it's crazy. Before we kind of go into the new album, I just want to throw out there: if you ever do a podcast, I would listen. I feel like you would have a very interesting like history, almost conspiracy, or
Yeah, we could
just
do a podcast, bro.
I'd listen, bro. You ever thought about that?
I have kind of, but now that you say it, I want to do it. I'm gonna write it down.
You
Can you
definitely.
still see me now?
Huh?
Can you still see me?
Yeah. Oh, you're legitimately writing it down right now.
I'm just writing it in my notes.
I think if you're watching this right now in the comment section, would you be interested in listening to him have a podcast? Because I would personally. So.
Yeah, we're gonna go crazy. That'll be hard.
I would. But yeah, man. The this album. Let me tell you why this album intrigues me. So I've only heard a couple songs, the songs that you've released, and it intrigues me because just flat out, you have my favorite artist producing the entire thing, Navy Blue Sage.
For real?
Man, hey, my favorite person right now. Interviewed him last year. Coolest guy of all time. Just super duper cool. And just to see you as you're rapping over these beats. I don't know if it's these beats or if you're just matured as a writer, but I feel like you're rapping better than I've ever heard you rap, and that's saying something because I've heard you rap really well. So I don't know if it's these beats bringing out of you, or if you matured as a writer, but just before I even get to you and Sage and how this happened, where did this like? Why do you think you're rapping like this right now in this state of your career?
I mean, I think it's a mix of a bunch of stuff, but a lot of it is the production that Sage brought to me, and also just the relationship we had, and it just felt organic, everything. And also, I just think what like I talked about before, just going through pandemic and having that time to reflect and kind of like get my life together, get a little bit more confident in myself, and also chill out with drinking. Also, as well, like just like I think my pen game is getting better, but at the same, which I'm like hype about because I felt, it's also all about perspective. It's like before I didn't feel inspired, and then when you feel inspired, that's all it takes, But at the same time, like definitely just working with Sage in general. It basically started with like, it started with one joint, and then it kind of like, what's the word? Snowballed into like a whole project. You know what I mean? But I give like a lot of respect to Sage because he's someone who has known me for a minute, seen me in the game for a minute, and saw like the talent in me, and didn't see it on some hype shit, no hype shit, none of that. Just like, yo, Wick, I fuck with you. I want to work because he's inspired and he's an inspired artist, and he wants to work with great MCs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then he brought something out of me too, and like he really brought me up during a place where I didn't feel like anyone really had any hope in me or faith in me, or not that they didn't have faith in me. They liked my shit, but not in a way where they could see further, And so like, that's kind of like what it comes down to. I owe a lot to that fool. I appreciate him.
I kind of want you to expand on that. Do you think people were like, I don't know, did they not see it? Did they not think you had it anymore, or like what was it?
Ironic part is that, not the ironic part, but it's like exactly. But it took me. I'm like, what is it? But then that's whatever it was something, because now I feel like I'm making. This I think is my best record I've ever made. To me, I'm like, this is not like my first album, but I'm like, this is a whole new side. This is my first. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, even if it's like this is the Carter 1, this is a whole new thing. It's a new trilogy. You get what I'm saying? So it's like not trilogy, but a
Yeah.
new chapter. You know what I mean? So I don't know what exactly it is, but it's gonna go crazy. I'm telling you, like, and everything we're dropping, like, we got more heat. Like, we got more heat. That's the thing. It's not even like one of them ones where it's like, all right, we're gonna drop the hottest shit. We just got more shit, more heat. But yeah,
I believe you. And listening to the singles, you had a bar that I wanted to touch on, and it was interesting to me. You said, where is it at? You said, "Do I really want shows to come back? The only time I feel alive is when I rap." And before you talk about that, when you say that bar on a roof, I think it was, the first thing that came to my mind was this clip of you that you posted on Twitter of you rapping earlier this month, and it was this one right here. I don't know if you remember this.
oh yeah,
You really seemed into it. Like you really seemed like you was like rapping from like not even
that's
like from the
that's
abdominal.
that's from a couple weeks. That was like a week or two ago.
And I could tell that you really felt that. So when you said the only time you feel alive is when you rap, that you really seemed alive and into it. So like where does that come from? Why do you think that you feel that much emotion when you rap?
Well, I first saw how that was my first time playing in like a whole how long? That was my first time playing in like 2 years or something. So I was just hyped to get one. I was so nervous to play. I was like practicing those songs for the past like 5 days before that. I just did 3 songs. Sage brought me out. I did like Remarkably and Roof, and then I did a new joint just to let him get a little sneak peek. But yeah, I was just hyped to. I was just hyped to get on and just spit. I was just ready to for them to bring me on so I could rap. Once I got on, I was like, all right, I'm good now. I can just do my thing. But you know, all the moments before it's the scary part. But yeah, I was excited to get back. I'm hyped to. I'm about to start rehearsing the next week and 2 weeks or so for this show I got coming up in New York. So it should be good. I'm hyped.
Hey, I definitely can't wait to hear.
I
But
play again because you know I always felt like that was the angle I always had. I was like, all right, well, even if I was like, I was always a dope live MC, and over the years, it's just also experience. It's like over the years, you learn how to gain that breath control and gain that stamina. But then at the same time, I was so unhealthy all those years doing it. I was like hungover at almost every night, every show. Like so now I'm like so hyped to go back doing it more healthy. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, I'm hyped. I'm about to come crazy, like, and just really be focused and rehearse with it. Because now that I'm done with this album, I mean, I got mad other projects I'm working on, but at the same time, trying to gear my focus towards touring now. You know what I mean?
getting healthy and writing is a interesting thing because I interviewed my last interview was actually Mike like a month ago, and he had a bar that I asked him about where he said I dropped the.
Monte, by the way, this ain't a brew.
Hey, I've never had a yerba mate. Is that good?
Yeah, it's good. It's like, you know what it is? It's caffeinated, but it's not like Red Bull. It's like a little bit more like natural, but then it's not like coffee. Like it's not gonna like get your stomach all crazy, you know?
Gotta try it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
Mike's
Mike, what was Mike saying? I just saw Mike the other day. It's crazy. I saw him the day we dropped
the song.
uh, yeah, and I hadn't seen him in a minute. I hadn't seen him since his show actually at Good Company, and then it just happened that he was in the neighborhood. We kicked it for a sec, but my bad. You go on and tell me what he was saying.
You're perfect, man. Another cool guy. Disco, great album. Go check it out if you haven't heard it. But on Disco, he said, "I dropped the weight and now my written's in the." What he said? He said, "I dropped the weight and now my written's in the best shape." And I thought it was an interesting bar because that was also double entendre to him dropping the weight of the world, but also him saying like dropping weight. It's also made his mind sharper. So you saying you're getting more healthy. Have you seen like the lifestyle changes help you think differently when you're writing, or just think differently in general, or have you not seen that correlation yet?
I'm sorry, you said the thought process.
Well, no, because you said that you've been getting more healthy. Like you've been, and I'm saying, since you've been getting more healthy, have you been seeing your thought process change while writing? Like maybe even quicker wit or just different, thought process while writing. Or do you think you still have that same thought process that you had 2 years ago?
Nah, I think my thought process is more sharp, definitely, and I think it's like you can make anything sound cool, but it's like how it's just the level of how sharp it's gonna be. I don't know. It's like a level to it, but I feel like when I'm so, or maybe yeah, I don't know. For me, that I correlate that with like drinking, maybe. For someone else, it might be something different, but I feel like my mind's a little bit more fogged, and then it's like you could drink and write, and then you'll come up with some kind of fun, cool shit. But it's like I find that I'm sharper when I'm not
Hmm.
drinking while writing, and then I feel like yeah, I feel like exercising and working out and all that, and just even like not like you got to go to the gym or something, just go take a walk or something, whatever. But like that is helpful for the mental too. You know what I mean? And for also for like depression and all that, like go get out and run around, like use your body. That's what humans are supposed to use their body. That's why you know what I mean. We have all this bent up shit because we're not out doing. We're just on a computer. We're not actually out getting to the. You know what I mean? Humans
Yeah.
used to actually out getting to the grind, getting to it physically. When they were getting to it, they were like hunting and shit. You feel me? So it's like that you got to use that. You got to use your body
Well,
to
one.
to mind and perfect. You know what I mean? You can't just sit around.
Yeah. Also,
That's why. So like some fool that sits around and just reads whatever, cool, but you don't know shit because you never been around. You never talked to no one. You know what I'm saying?
nah, I've definitely heard people talk about like other cultures that I can tell they haven't been around, but they like read about on Twitter, and I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah,
probably should
get
shut
out of
up.
there. I hate that. Because I don't know shit except shit that I actually organically learned. Like I don't be like. Of course, I'm not saying I'll research something that I'm interested in, of course. But in terms of like, that's more like knowledge. In terms of like culture, style, all that. Like I'm gonna let this shit come to me. You know what I mean?
Hey, also, I meant to say this when you were talking about the ancient history, and now you saying this kind of reminds me. Super jealous of. I feel like in this time that we live in, we've evolved and regressed in certain ways. I feel like we've regressed with being like one with like nature, like people like outside touching grass, being with animals, feeling the sun, feeling the
Right.
energy outside.
That's what people don't get. And this is my thing. People think that they're so on their fucking high horse about like. I hate that like idea. Like it's like you're either like some weird spiritual motherfucker or you're like about the books and you're like I understand logic. Like nah, bro. There's something else because like what you just said, people were more connected to nature. It's like they knew it. Like I just said, in an organic way. They were able to like I know what to eat, know what to do, know how to heal something with this plant. That was something that was taught. That was something that was like part of their culture. You know, that wasn't something that was like the same thing. That was like, oh, we know how to like when I get sick, I put Vicks Vapor on my shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, come on. So what I'm saying is like, what the fuck was I saying? What I'm saying is like, yeah, it's like there's people. You get what I mean? Like they're not thinking about it in this logical way. That's just life. So it's like there is a connect from nature to like spiritualness. I think people think spirituality can't be like logical, but I
Mm,
don't agree.
I kind of want to hear more about that. What do
Well,
expand?
because all right, it's like this. This is like an example of it. Ready? Like fate. You know when people say fate,
Yeah.
and like someone would be like, fate doesn't exist. That doesn't make any sense. But to me, if you look at fate too, there's two meanings. Fate could be like it's predetermined, but fate also means everything happens for a reason, right? So if everything does happen for a reason. The reason is just whatever the fuck happened because everything has a chain reaction to something else. So fate is logical. There's a logical explanation right there. I just said it. Like if I do this, then that affects that. If I, you get what I mean? Like, and then that happened because of that. That's the reason. It doesn't have to be some deeper reason. And so what I mean is like it is. It's not predetermined, but it's like no matter what way it goes, it went that way. I don't know. Does that make sense? Kind of. You
No,
feel me?
I
It's like,
I definitely
hey,
feel
it's
you.
real. I don't know, but it's like you could. I don't know. I feel like it kind of makes sense. There's something there.
No, I definitely feel
It's
you.
It's kind of in the early stages.
No, it's like just speaking about all of these things. I feel like are so complex, and it'll really take like hours to really develop and like really get like full understanding, because to talk about like spirituality and talk about those things we can't see, we can't feel it, we can't touch it. So to explain something that you can't feel, see, or touch, it's not going to be as easy to say like, oh, this is like chicken from Panda Express. Like, okay, you can see that, you feel me? But if we're talking about like spirituality and things like that, and definitely somebody who's not familiar with any of the topics regarding anything against like spiritual or old religions and things like that, it's going to take time to explain it. So I definitely feel you on what you're
But
trying to say.
also, I think my bad. It's semantics too, because it's like someone can just be like, "Oh, what this spirit, this God, this." It's just a word, right? So that's explaining something. So it's like the same thing. It's like some you could be sick, and some old lady that never read a book about any medical thing ever could like know some next thing to heal you that would work just off experience and life and like being around whoever she was around. But what I'm saying is like, and she might be like, "Oh, well, this is this spirit, this is this thing that we did because when the spirits came, whatever the fuck." I'm just
Yeah,
going. But you get what I'm saying? It's like that's just the way she's expressing it. You know what I mean? It's just semantics. It's just language. You could call it what you call it. But the thing is that there's things that are unexplainable in the world and in our life, and that's what it is. That's what the spiritualness is. When you feel something more, it's like, yeah, you could be like, that's a chemical going on in your brain, cool. But what I'm saying is like that feeling is still a feeling. You get what I mean?
I think a perfect example is like sleep paralysis. I used to have that when I sleep on my back a lot. Had it plenty of times. I told my mom, and she was like, just pray every time that happens. Just pray. And
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna be like, but mom, in the dictionary it says that you're supposed to read a book, and you put like, no, I'm gonna do what my mom said, because
Yeah, you're
like that's like
right.
that's the lady of wisdom, like you said. Like she
Yeah,
might
yeah,
know
yeah.
somebody that knows. So that's every time even to this day, if I had that, I'm gonna just start praying as
Yeah.
quick as I can, because it's almost like ritual and traditions that we've lost in
It's
2021.
important. That's what I'm saying. Ritual and tradition. It's a balance. It's important to look at it for what it is, but at the same time, it's important to not lose that connection because that's like what we said. It's like we've already lost so much of that connection to our like connect back to nature and our connect back to like exactly just like the roots to the earth, the roots to where we're from. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, and I feel like having this conversation, this makes me want to hear the album even more, because I feel like you're, like you said, like you're on a different mindset now. The track list looks classic. I mean, Remy
Yep.
Banks got Navy Blue verse on there, got Earl on there. Like, I mean, it's some people on there. I'm like, what is this going to sound like? So I'm hyped for this, man.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, it's gonna go crazy. I'm gonna send you the link right after this.
For sure, for sure. Is there a song that when this comes out, you think people are going to be like an early favorite for people? Do you have a favorite right now that you're listening to? Like, yeah, this is the one.
I think there's a couple. There's gonna be there's a few. There's like the one that's gonna be like the fave. And people are like, oh shit. But then there's gonna be the sleeper that people are gonna be like, oh shit. And then there's gonna be the ones that are like personal people's favorites. I think.
What's the sleeper? I like sleepers. What do you think the sleeper's going to be?
I don't mean the sleeper, but it's like there's this joint called New Truths, and that one is gonna go crazy once people wrap their head around it and like hear it. It's later in the album, and it's like, uh, I just feel like there's so much on there before that you could be like, nah, this is the one, and then once that second verse of New Truths comes, this should go crazy. It's over, but whatever. But yeah, there's a bunch of dope shit on there. I'm really happy with the features. It was like perfectly what I wanted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I really for this one wanted it to be right and like organic at the same time. It just makes sense for the whole thing and not have it be like just for the sake of having anyone just like really honed in and be like, yo, this is important for this song. You know what I mean? And like to get Remy Banks and doing Dita on there was really important because Remy's my old homie and that's Sage's homie too. And then Mike's been the homie for a minute. You know what I mean? So it's like all, but in terms of music, all working on music, it's all through music. So like, just all came together, and then at the same time, Ted made a connection with him and me and Sage. It's just like all kind of organically worked, and I feel like it couldn't have been better put together. And like, just the idea to work with one producer was like, it's so important. I mean, like Sage alone is an amazing producer, and you're gonna hear from him too on his joints where you're like, damn. I'm telling you, you're gonna be like, oh shit, Sage just did. Because I remember when I was like playing it for people, certain ones later now, people are like, wait, Sage did this one too? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh shit. And I mean, so it's gonna go crazy. I'm excited for it.
Hey, I can't wait, and I'll be remiss if I don't bring this up because I almost forgot. I have to shout you out for introducing to me one of my favorite artists of 2020, man.
Who?
Indirectly, you put me on the DJ.
A DJ.
DJ Lucas is great. I just want to shout you out for that because I heard.
Shout out DJ Lucas.
Hey man, I heard Flippy. I was like, what is this? I was like, this guy's crazy. Went back listening. He's great. Shout out to DJ. But yeah, I don't want to queue for too long, but.
No. I'm chilling. I just had to step in for a sec. I'm not. I didn't. I'm not to go nowhere.
Oh, for sure. No, yeah. I was gonna ask you. Is there any inspirations that, like, what is there anything that inspired this album? When I mean that, it could be from music, it could be films, it could be TV, it could be trees that's outside of your house right now. It could be the sounds of the people, the kids playing outside. Like, what inspired this album to come out the way it did?
It was really like a mix between. It was where I was at in like my life, which was like just a big transitional period and like a big growth period. But then at the same time, it was like what I was seeing around me, my surroundings. I wrote the whole joint like basically like at my most of the album I wrote on like the stoop outside my house because in my apartment at the time we couldn't smoke in there. So I was just out, and then weed just got legal in New York, so I was just out all day, and it was springtime, so it's like, it was nice, and summer rolled around, you know what I mean? It got really nice, and I was just outside all day, all night, writing. So it's also everything around me, you know what I mean? And that was like, so anytime you run out of inspiration, it's like some weirdo is going to walk up the block, or something's going to happen, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So, like, really my surroundings, mixed that with, like, me growing as a like being alone. At the same time, I'd been like living with my girl for 4 years out in Park Slope, which is like a real domesticated type neighborhood. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was back in Manhattan. I was in the city every day. It was just like, you know what I mean? It was like me learning to be a grown up on my own and not depend on anyone else for anything. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you have that girl and you're like, oh yeah, oh like. I don't know. I just let you know what I mean. You gotta like learn how to do all that shit for yourself. So that, and then the last thing was just like really hip hop in general. At the time, like I was really listening to a lot. I mean, I was listening to just everything, all types of music. I mean, all types of eras of hip hop. You feel me? New stuff to old stuff, but also just kind of like the idea of hip hop in general and like what it's about and the idea of just self-expression and coming from the city and coming from an urban place and like not without feeling like you need to prove, like without having any judgment from anyone, just like being who the fuck you are, you know what I mean, unapologetically. To me, that's like hip-hop, and just there's a lot of references on the album that are like to all different eras of hip-hop, you know what I mean, and to some of the lost heroes of recent, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of that. It's like really, it's for me, it's like close to my, like really dear to my heart. It's the most like important thing to me, you know what I mean? So, because I see hip hop as something that around me is everyone is influenced by 100%. I live downtown, so I see a lot of artists and a lot of cool guys in all types of fields in the fashion world and everything. And it's like I see the connect to hip hop and how that's the influence. It's like it's just an extension of Black culture in America. I feel like being what the world is looking to as culture. You know what I'm saying? That's like such a huge thing, and then but it gets then diluted and whitewashed and all this thing. But hip hop has this thing where it's like you can't, no matter all the fucking fake whatever, you could put all the fake whack people, but you know where it comes from. It's hip hop. You get what I'm saying? It's like rock and roll. They made it like some white shit, but now you can't do it to hip hop. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like that's so important to me. So it's like just trying to keep that. You know, it's like the way on Blueprint, there's these certain references. You know what I mean? Whether it's the way he had uh, Biz Markie and Slick Rick and Q-Tip do uh, the hook on Girls, 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 or it's the flip of the Slick Rick line on the Ruler's Back. You know what I mean? All those things. It's just those little subtle things that's a nod to you know what the elders of his, the elders of what he does. You know what I mean? And that's like, it's all about being the best. I want to be the best MC, but it's also about showing respect to the ones before you. You know what I mean? So that's like that's actually like subtly a huge influence, and you could see it in the art. Some of the art on the album cover and the back cover you'll see soon, but also on in the music itself. So and to me, it's like a lot of the Sage stuff. It brought that out of me. I was like, bro, I'm rapping on classic shit. This is like what I've wanted to rap on forever. But I was always trying to do this and do that and do all these different things. But I was like, there's this certain essence that's like, you can make the classic stuff, but on a lot of this record, there's this certain essence. It's like something that I'm like, yo, we're the De La type joints, but like 2020. You know what I mean? We're the like Lauryn Hill type joint, the Fugees type. That's how I feel on some of these records on here, So I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
Hey man, I was just looking at the album cover to kind of get the feeling, and yeah, this does feel like I feel like it's something that you would see like I couldn't tell if this is an old album cover or a new album cover. Like if I was going to like a record shop, I wouldn't be able to be like, oh, this came out this year. I'd be like, this is an old album or a new album. That's a compliment.
Yeah.
It's timeless.
I like that.
Timeless.
I did the art too.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, good job. I like this. This is fire.
It's a collage I did.
Fire.
You got the back cover is cool too. You'll see it soon. I'm gonna drop that soon. So.
For sure. Hey man.
When does it come out?
Huh?
When does this come out?
Probably like 30 minutes after we're done.
Oh, sick! I bet.
Yeah, so everything in here will probably be seen like an hour from now. But hey, also random, but kind of going back to the pandemic, something that I was planning to get that I never got. I was going to get something from Bugsex. Hey, still to this day, haven't got anything. I miss every fucking release of the Bugsex guys. They sell out quick, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Shout out Bugsex, yo.
Shout out to Bugsex. But yeah, man. Huh?
No, nothing. I was just saying that's my people's. That's sick. That I forgot that you would mention that.
Yeah, they're fire. They're fire. But yeah, man. I don't like I said, I don't want to keep you for too long. If you got anything else you want to say about the album or say to the people out there, let it be known.
Well, we got a drop tomorrow, so look out for that. We're dropping a video. It's gonna go crazy, and then I just want to shout out all my peoples, all my friends and family, and I don't know, man. Also, maybe, shout out Sage. You know what I mean, Navy. Keep your eye out on new music coming from him. I know he's got a lot in the works, so. And keep your eye out for shows too. I'm about to be playing shows. I'm definitely gonna be touring soon. So.
For sure. Yeah. Well, shit, man. I appreciate it for everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play, and y'all holla at your boy.